Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and let's make a drawstring bag. We are going to use 12 squares of fabric. Now you can have any size squares you want. I'm going to use the pre-cut squares because, well, they're pre-cut for me. This is going to seem very strange when you're sewing it together, but it really is so very easy. Let's get started. The bag is going to have 4 sides, so we're going to need 4 piles. And in each pile, we need 3 squares. These are the pre-cut cotton fabric squares that you buy at 5 inches. This is going to be a drawstring bag, so I need to make a casing for the string to go around the top of the bag, so I'm going to need 1 square from each pile. And each piece is going to be treated the same. I'm going to take 2 ends and fold them in, and I'm going to glue them. So I'm going to just take and put a little bit of glue on the corners and fold them in. My measurement is about 2 fingers. This is going to be the casing for the top of the bags. And it's really not that important that they're exact. Just give yourself about 2 fingers on each corner. When you've glued the 2 corners down, take it, press it with the iron, and then fold them in half and press them so that you're pressing that corner area. So now you have this odd looking triangle. Take your machine and do a stitch right down the center. And you're going to want to stitch approximately a ½ inch to an inch down. No less than a ½ inch, because this is going to make the casing that the strings are going to go in. So nothing's been measured, and so far, so easy. Put the little tops aside, take the rest of your squares and match up 2 and sew them together. You have your sets of 2 sewn together. Now we're going to sew on the tops. They're all going to look the same. The straight edge is the left-hand side on all of them, so they all have to look the same. You're going to match up that left-hand side onto the squares and put a pin just to hold those. We need to sew a ¼ inch along the top that matches the same direction as how we sewed the squares together. But before we sew them together, we need to fold another corner. This is the left side, there's the top. I want to fold that corner in to match that top piece. Just put some glue and fold it over. That piece there is tucked in. Now stitch a ¼ inch. When you stitch a ¼ inch, back stitch right there to give it some strength. So I now have 4 units that look like this. The next is going to be sewing these 2 units together. We're going to sew that side onto this side and turn it that way and fold it together and sew that seam down and do that to the second piece. We now have 2 big L's. What we're going to do is we're going to sew these 2 units together, and with the 2 blocks on the end are going to go with the same 2 blocks on the end. So stack your 2 pieces the same, put a pin right there in that block and rotate it. And when you rotate it, you have this big pinwheel shape, and those are the seams you're going to sew together. So take this, fold it in half, and stitch that seam down. I can take this and press it so all the seams are nice and flat. To sew it together, it's going to seem very strange. You're going to take that seam and you're going to sew it towards that edge. This is going to go here. So if I take this and fold it, that's the seam I'm going to sew there. When that seam is sewn, I'm going to take those 2 and sew them here. These 2 are going to go here. These are going to go over here. You will be able to just take that and fold it over and stitch it down. You can match up those seams, pull that bottom out of your way, and stitch down. You can do a little knot or a back stitch here and a little back stitch there. And when you open up, this is going to become the bottom. So each of these corners are stitched together. You're not going to be able to take this piece and put it on another side. You'll know that the seams are matching because you have that big L you're going to fold the L and match. So follow all of those seams and stitch the 4 sides together. When the 4 sides are sewn together, the seams are on that angle and the triangles are all up at the top. Now you're going to be able to put a string all the way around into those casings. To thread that string through, you can use a good old-fashioned pin or some kind of a bobbin that's going to pull that through. I'm going to be able to just thread it through. I'm going to go to the one and then go right into the next one. And that little rope is going to follow all the way around. And you're going to come out so that you're able to tie 2 ends. I'm going to take my 2 ends and just tie a knot. Now you can leave it with 1 string, and when you pull it together, you're going to have this little bag. I like to add 2 strings. So I've started and ended on one side. I'm going to start and end on the other side. And with the 2 different ends on, you're going to be able to just pull those ends and clinch that bag in. It is a lot larger than it looks. I'm going to show you a close-up of these folded ends. So here are those triangle pieces, and this is that other piece that we folded down when we stitched that triangle on. Now it's really nice if you happen to get them exact, but it's not necessary. As you can see, I'm off here. You can measure each one of these little triangles and make them exact if you want that exact little opening. But I find once they're clinched together, you really can't tell. By using those 5-inch squares, I was able to get a bag that has about a 6-inch bottom, and we're looking at is almost 5 inches high. So it's a good size bag. Now the bigger the squares, the bigger the bag is going to be. It looks really complicated, but it's not so hard once you follow the steps. And once you've made one, I bet you're going to be tempted to make another. Thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.